nerds, welcome to Memoriam. Today we're going to do our series recap for Legacies. 4 seasons, 68 episodes. Start to finish, the rise of Hope Michelson, the rise of the Tribrid. At least it would be. In just a second, we can hop into that. If you guys are new around here, all we're just going to talk about the show for a second. From each of the seasons, we did a recap, and then we did our favorite episodes, favorite scenes, most heartbreaking scenes, etc. We're going to pick the winner for the overall show, like what was the best of the best for me personally, and we'll go from there. For those award ceremonies, we'll do an in memoriam, in loving memory of just some of the major characters that went through, and we'll take it along that route. So this is our last video. This is our final hoorah here for Legacies. Once this is done and edited, like, we're done with the show. Everything's gone. I mean, we'll do tributes here and there, but I was going to do another toast here with some Brothers Bond bourbon, but I decided it's pretty early. I haven't had anything to eat, and that's a bad combination. But we do have some Brothers Bond, so what I will do for you guys instead is just one of these. So you can get that little pop right there. You can enjoy that. That's very nice. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen me taste this yet or drink it or whatever, or talk about it, has a maple flavor to it. It's really good. It's from Paul and Ian, Stefan and Damon. They made that together, Brothers Bond bourbon. Is it bourbon or is it whiskey? It is bourbon, because remember, bourbon has to be made in Kentucky to be called bourbon. Yeah, so this is a whiskey. It says bourbon whiskey. This is a whiskey. It's distilled in Indiana, Arkansas. Okay, distributed by the distilling company in Arkansas, distilled in Indiana. So this is whiskey. It has to be distilled and made in Kentucky to be bourbon, but it's still very yummy. So good stuff. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe for daily content. If there's a day, there's a reaction. Links in the description box down below. Patreon, Twitch stream, all of that nonsense. We have all 171 of the Vampire Diaries, all 92 of the originals, and all 68 episodes of Legacies, both on Patreon and here on YouTube. 334 episodes? Yeah, is that the math? Boop, 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 boop. 331. 331 episodes of television, more than Supernatural, even though that's one steady show. This is one big universe. So we can get into it. So again, the rise of Hope Michelson and the Tribrid, being safe and secure at the Salvatore School. This is her story, or at least it should have been. Our season 1, just in general, is just, hey, here's the school, here's these characters. Oh, hey, do you remember Matt Donovan? Do you remember Jeremy? Do you remember these people? Do you remember these people? How about this storyline? Here's all of this really cool stuff, and it's really, really, really good. But at the same time, there is this pit called Malivore that's triggered by a knife in the collection of Stefan Salvatore. This knife is connected to Landon Kirby, who is a foster kid who was in the originals, and he's there with his brother, Raph. And Raph is a werewolf. They try to exorcise him. It doesn't pan out well. They end up at the school. He touches this knife, and it triggers a chain of events. Malivore is a pit that if something is put into it, everybody forgets that that thing existed, which leads to the onslaught of supernatural creatures beyond what you consider supernatural to an extent. There are gargoyles and dragons and tree witches and the Headless Horseman and gremlins and all of these things. Everything is Santa Claus. All of these things so far out of left field are now here because they were all a part of myths, but they were all basically destroyed and eaten by Malivore. So everybody forgot about them, except for in the textbooks. Also the Necromancer, these type of people. Malivore in and of itself is a creation created by a vampire, a witch, and a werewolf. And Malivore was a giant mud monster that would consume and destroy all the other supernatural things with a sworn thing to never harm humans. So that's what they deal with. And come to find out, Landon Kirby is a phoenix. If he dies, he resurrects. But we also learn that he's the son of Malivore. So that's all the connections. So essentially, at the end of the season, Hope sacrifices herself, being the tribrid, thinking that it would destroy Malivore for good. She goes into this dark place, kind of like the void and stuff, and she does that. Then everybody forgets about her, and Rick is kicked out as the headmaster. It leads into season 2 where nobody can remember her. Hope comes back and sees life has changed completely. Her boyfriend Landon's no longer her boyfriend. Instead, he's with Josie. And Lizzie ends up being the only person to actually remember her. Everybody remembers. They go on about their business. More supernatural stuff is coming in waves and waves and waves. Josie does dark magic, becomes Dark Josie. It's a whole thing. Season 3 comes around. They give a big F you to Raph. They put him on a prison world with his parents that didn't actually care about him. And it's more Landon, more Landon, more Landon. Until there's a conclusion that, hey, only the Triber can kill Malivore. In order to do so, she needs to activate her vampire side. So with the help of her Aunt Freya, gives her a self-induced, a peaceful heart attack, kills her. She becomes the Tribrid. In the meantime, all the stuff we bypassed here. MG became a superhero. This other kid, Ethan, came to the school. Caleb became a dragon. A lot of ups and downs. But once Hope activates her Tribrid side, it's really the first time that the show takes off her humanity off. She attacks Rick. She kills Lizzie, even though Lizzie drank her blood and became her sire and like woke up as a heretic. And it's not until she spends some time in New Orleans with the originals that are left, Cole, Marcel, Freya, Rebecca, does she her inner humanity able to fight and win and come back. And they needed her humanity back because what they ended up fighting in season 4 were gods. So we're already completely off the rails. And with after Hope destroys, even when she is the Tribrid, she destroys Malivore. And then when she gets her humanity back on, now she must destroy a god. Ken. I'm just Ken. A lot of people die in the process. They all get brought back because Landon was the necro or the ferryman. And yeah, they defeat him. Everybody lives happily ever after. All the relationships that you wanted happened, except for Hope, because Landon's forced to remain in limbo forever, and she's at the school welcoming new students. I know that's such a short, shitty recap, but that's what happens. That's the chain of events. What really sucks is Wade's introduced as a fairy, and they never touch on that anymore. Nobody got the ashes for Elijah like they did for Klaus. Josie leaves midway through season 4 because of onset issues. We never really talk about the merge ever again, even though Lizzie's a heretic. So, like, now that Joe's gone, but does that mean there's no merge? I feel like we were going towards it. It felt like a big deal. Caroline shows up. She doesn't talk about the merge. She just takes over as headmaster, and she says like 3 words and then does a bunch of slow pan-ins on her face. The one weapon that can kill Hope, created by Ken the God, is now with Josie. So there is still a weapon out there. It's there should have been just a little more. Like, Raph goes to this prison world and Landon can never see him again. Nobody tells Raph that Landon can never see him again. Landon doesn't leave limbo to go to a prison world. I don't know the lengths that goes. Ethan comes to limbo, has a really good time saving people, but instead of being a sidekick, gets his own piece after he died because Landon can't bring him back. Landon does that as he should, but like at the same time, like Ethan could have became the ferryman and Landon could have came back and been with Hope. You know, they threw Ethan into a love triangle kind of with MG and Lizzie, even though it never had to happen. There was a musical, there was a Christmas episode, there was a Star Wars episode. There was a lot of good. I just feel like the show should have stuck with Hope more than transitioning over to Landon. Again, I say that you can have Malivore and you can have people being forgotten, but you don't have to bring in supernatural stuff. Season 1 was great. Season 2, they can't remember. You have to bring in another villain, blah, 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 blah. I think now it's, okay, we really need to stop this Malivore thing. Like, people are being forgotten. It's taking, we have to use black magic to remember people. It's taking a toll on everybody. Maybe Josie's fully corrupted with black magic. And then in order to save Josie and to defeat Malivore in season 3, the Tribrid gets activated early. And although maybe at the end of season 2 there's a hint at it, or maybe at the end of season 3 they fully do it. So either have season 3 or season 4 be all about Hope being the Tribrid. At the end of one of those seasons, you figure out that the tree, like they learn about the White Oak, they know about they can kill an original, but there's nothing to stop Hope at all. Like she's on a rampage. She should kill a couple of students. There should be real darkness to her, Klaus style. And then you get glimmers of her talking to her humanity, and it's getting pushed down and pushed away, and it's just gone. You need to show her humanity being completely shut off. Like, show her talking to herself, and then the humanity getting their ass kicked, and then it just kind of fades to black. Okay? And then, Cleo has visions of things of this nature, and she's seeing something that could possibly take down Hope, but she keeps seeing this tree, but it's not... it's not a white oak tree. It's not going to do any good. And then at some point we get a revelation that this red oak tree that's been there this whole time, we show it a bunch. There should be a big reveal that, okay, this can kill a Tribrid. This can kill an original and a Tribrid. And it's in our backyard. That should end one of the seasons. And then while threatened, her family comes to save her and take her away before she dies. And she spends time with her family. And I think the main villain should be the Necromancer, who comes back as a serious person after we get a wholesome Ted and something happens where he comes back and he's instead of being like, "Oh, I'm the Necromancer," it's more like, I'm going to fucking murder your neck. Like, I'm going to twist it off. So you go from that angle, right? And now the Necromancer's there. And I think he torments the Michelsons. And they can't really hurt him or kill him, even though how powerful they are. And he summons Elijah, or a darker version, a twisted version of Haley, Klaus, and Elijah. And it fucks with them badly, and it fucks with Hope, and it makes her sad, and her humanity starting to flicker a little bit. And then he does it once, and, maybe it's good. Maybe he tries maybe he gets away with it with Elijah, right? And then he can try summoning a Haley or a Klaus together. And then they overpower him. And now it's an actual version of them to speak to her. And there's an embrace. And that embrace is what helps kick her humanity back. And they realize they have to defeat the Necromancer. And since they're pulled from their peace, I don't think, since they're pulled from limbo, wherever they're at, they give the secrets of how to kill the Necromancer. But it requires it requires everybody. And Klaus is telling her, like, hey, you need to have your friends with you. You need to do this as a group. And they go and they fucking kill him as a group of people. And, she gets her farewell, and he's with her as a projection or whatever, while she's spreading the ashes of both Elijah and Klaus. And then their whole family is there. And then she goes and welcomes in the new students. She has a dinner, right? I know I'm bouncing around. And the series should end. Like, everybody's happily ever after. She's with Landon. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make this work, because you can't just have like an astral projection. Maybe after killing the Necromancer, maybe a bit of Ted is left. So we have that, and Ted has a little bit of power before he's able to fade, and grants this ability to Hope, like a wish. And Hope gets a dinner with her family. And it's everybody, even Finn, Vincent, Davina, Cole, Marcel, Rebecca, Freya, her wife, their child. And they're all there. And Elijah and Haley and Klaus. And they have a dinner. Obviously, maybe even they can't eat. Maybe they just sit around a table. And they get to say a proper goodbye. And there's tears, and it's emotional. And they all say that I love you always and forever. And they tell Hope to go live her life. And Klaus can still give that same message of, like, my little bird, go live. Go experience it. You'll find love and you'll lose it. And he said, well, maybe you won't lose this one. And then he accepts Landon. And the family accepts Landon. And as the dinner ends, and as she knows she has to say goodbye, as Ted is fading and it's time to say goodbye, you say goodbye. And now that Hope has peace, her dead relatives can have peace. And they transition into a white light. and maybe they get something along the line. Maybe Ethan still dies and they get something that they went to peace. And everybody's there together, and maybe the originals pick up some stuff to help around the school, the Salvatore home, in different shapes and fashions. Maybe not full-time employees, but they help out. And then it ends with the same line of Hope saying, "Welcome home," as she welcomes in a new student. I think she should welcome all the students. I think a girl should walk up, and there should be one last person. And she should be kind of like stumbling with her stuff. They should bump into each other, right? Follow me here. They should bump into each other. Bags should drop, not in a romantic sense like Stefan and Elena was. Bags should drop on the floor, and Hope should help her pick it up. And she says, "Hey, are you okay?" And the girl says yes. And she asks, "What's your name?" And she says, "Stephanie." She doesn't have to say Stephanie Salvatore. She can say it the whole thing, but she says Stephanie Salvatore, etc. And then there can be a moment, maybe not an embrace because, those, she doesn't really know them like we know them. But there's an embrace, and then Hope finishes the show by saying, "Welcome home." That's how the show ends. What I just said is not perfect. It's sporadic. It's all over the place. But you can piece that together and make something beautiful for the show. 4 or 5 seasons, cap it beautifully. And then give these characters a chance to shine. Have Caleb and Cleo shine. Have Lizzie and MG fully solidify their relationship. Have these people be together, and young, beautiful love and tears and beautiful moments, and have it be the legacies. Like Stephanie joining would be a legacy. Like have these people be there. Have MG or Caleb be related to people we've met in the past. They don't have to be Bennett's, but like they could be somebody. They could come down. You could have somebody, was it Whitmore College? You can, one of the people there, you can have somebody be a Whitmore. You can have, somebody from John was the last name Gilbert? Yeah, Elena Gilbert. What was their maiden name? Like her parents from that side. Like you can have people trickle in. So it is what it is. I understand people not want to show up because their job was done and their role was finished, and bringing Klaus and Elijah into it in any shape, form, or fashion, Haley, does kind of undermine the beautiful finale when the Saints come marching home from the finale of the originals. But that's just my take on it. We can get into our Jer Awards for the full series, and we'll go from there. All right. So favorite episode, your winner from each season. Season 1, episode 13, The Boy Who Still Has a Lot of Good to Do. From 2:15, Life Was So Much Easier When I Only Cared About Myself. From 3:3, Salvatore the Musical. Honorable mentions, season 4, episode 4, 5, and 6, See You on the Other Side. I Thought You'd Be Happier to See Me, and You're a Long Way from Home. Really was the turning point of the show. And then episode 15 for season 4 as well, which is Everything That Can Be Lost May Also Be Found. My favorite episode of Legacies was season 1, episode 13, The Boy Who Still Has a Lot of Good to Do, all about MG. It was a perfect episode of television for me. It was beautiful. Come on now. Favorite scene, season 1, episode 13, Caleb's conversation with MG after he killed Landon. From 2:9, Sebastian calming down MG. From 3:3, hello, brother. From 4:4, Hope showing her vamp eyes. And from 4:9, Hope's humanity's fake out. I cannot pick between these two things for my favorite scenes. So I think we have a 2-way tie from season 1 and season 4, episode 13 and episode 9. Caleb's conversation with MG saying like, "You're my family. I got your back. They got a fucking problem. They can go through me. You're my brother now. Congratulations." And Hope faking out her humanity and killing Lizzie. Wait. Those are both my favorite scenes from Legacies. Most heartbreaking scene from 1:6, Rick and the girls' goodbye to Joe. From 2:6, Joe knowing Landon has to pick, Josette knowing Landon has to pick, or Josie, Landon has to pick between her and Hope. From 3:12, MG compelling Ethan's memories away. Or from 4:13, Jed's backstory. The most heartbreaking for me was Josie knowing Landon had to pick between her and Hope, and knowing he was going to pick Hope because that was the only logical answer. Because to them, Hope never existed, and she was in love, and she really loved this boy, and they almost copulated. That's not a word. They almost consummated their relationship, and it was Fucking sad, dude. Funniest moment. Let me say the winner last, because I don't want to say it twice. From 215, no, it doesn't. From 38, I look like a hot dog to them. And from 420, Milton is a name used by bullies or loved ones. The no, it doesn't was Lizzie saying, you know, this makes up for all the bad things I've done. And somebody in the background was like, no, it doesn't. It was good shit. But the winner is from season 1, episode 4, and it was Dana puking her soul out because fucking, that's the most outrageous scene I've seen in a show. Are you fucking kidding me? She puked her literal guts out and was flattened on the concrete. And what did they do? Just roll her up like a fucking fruit roll up and throw her in the back of the bus and take her to a burial ground? I have no idea. Favorite kiss from 114, Joe and Penelope's farewell. From 215, Lizzie and MG. From 312, Josie and Finch. And from 45, Caleb and Cleo. This is so difficult. One, there's no Landon and Hope on here at all. Ben and Jed almost made it. Caleb and Cleo was beautiful. Josie and Finch was beautiful. The first Lizzie and MG kiss wasn't that beautiful, but it was still entertaining and it was heartwarming. Lizzie and MG never got their big kiss like they needed. It still got interrupted even by Caroline in the finale. Josie and Finch, obviously Josie left. Caleb and Cleo was very beautiful, but my favorite kiss, and it's so toxic I'm even saying this, is Joe and Penelope. Joe and PP as I called her. Because she wanted, I don't know why they broke up. She wanted her back, but she knew she would never be able to live her own life and do anything without her sister. And that girl, I mean, there was a lot of passion in that kiss. It's a farewell. Like, I may never see you again. And we never saw her again. She was gone. And once the introduction of Finch happened, I didn't want to see her again because I really liked those two together. And she told Joe, if you ever have a moment where you can be your own person, like, call me. And she had that moment. It would have been interesting, but no, her and Finch was really good. And they also had that thing with Finch, like with Joe being gone and Ethan's sister being like, tell Finch, I said, hey, going somewhere. Favorite kill, the girls killing the gargoyle together in 1-3. From 213, Rick killing Kai. From 3-7, Cleo killing the leprechaun. Or from 4-6, Hope killing the super squad, even though it was in the therapy box. From 213, Rick killing Kai has to be so satisfying because that's the person that killed his pregnant wife at their fucking wedding. So Rick decapitating Kai, killing him once and for good, is my favorite. But Hope killing everybody's a close second. There's a couple good quotes throughout the show. Like, guess we all have a blind spot for people we love. Rick talking to Lizzie about MG. But my favorite quote was just Caleb telling MG, like, I'm your family, from season 1, episode 13. I've gotten worse and worse about quotes because I forget them in the moment, even though I really like when they're said. But Caleb just having that heart-to-heart with MG was beautiful. Really, really, really beautiful for me. Favorite friendship, your nominees from season 1 winner was Caleb and MG. Season 2 was Landon and Raph. Season 3 was Rick and Dorian. And season 4 was Rick, Landon, and Ted. Now, it's not Caleb and MG for favorite friendship because their friendship kind of teetered at one point, but and MG moved more over to Ethan for friendship. Rick, Landon, and Ted had a beautiful friendship in Limbo. Rick and Dorian's friendship also had spikes up and down. But the one friendship that never really faltered despite implications that it could have was Landon and Raph from season 2. That's my favorite friendship, and the fact that we never got another Landon and Raph scene after he was at the prison world and Landon promised to visit hurts. It just hurts. Favorite ship. Your winners at the end. Season 1 was Joe and Penelope. Season 2 was Hope and Landon. But season 3 and 4 winner, and my winner for my favorite ship in the whole show, was Caleb and Cleo. And I will say that to say that if Hope and Joe ever had anything, that may have topped it. And Joe and Finch could have had it if Joe didn't leave. Terrible. Caleb and Cleo, favorite ship throughout all of Legacies. Most underrated character, your winner from each season. Season 1 was Penelope. Season 2 was Wade. Season 3 was Dorian. And season 4 was Ethan. I think an overall most underrated character may be Vardamus for all his assistance. But I think my favorite, most underrated character throughout the whole thing, probably Ethan. He was just a good dude. He was a really, 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 really solid guy. Shout out Rescue Guy. Ethan's my most underrated character for the entire series of Legacies. I didn't color that. Hold on. Let me go ahead and put that in there. Boop. Least favorite character from seasons 1 and 2 was Ryan Clark. Season 3 was Malivore. And season 4 was Ken. My least favorite character of the entire show is Ken. He's fucking boring. Ryan Clark was boring in seasons 1 and 2, but he came around every time we saw him after and was enjoyable. Malivore was a cool concept. I just didn't give a shit. And Ken was just stupid. So, favorite character. If you've been watching any of this, you know who the favorite character is. Caleb was my favorite character in season 1, but my favorite character from season 2, 3, and 4 is MG. MG is my favorite character. Milton Greasley. Hopefully he considers me a loved one and I can call him Milton. An absolute phenomenal character. He was a good kid. He struggled with being a leader. He didn't know how to handle certain situations. He was authentic. He was genuine. And I appreciated that. Your honorable mention, and I'll mark this here, is Dark Hope, aka Hope without her humanity off. If she would have lasted longer like that, it easily would have been my favorite character. For our season rankings, you know what? Let's do the finale ranking first, and then we'll do our season rankings. We're going to go from bottom to top here for our ranking, so bear with me. Our least favorite finale was season 3, entitled Disappointment, and that is Landon is Malivore. Next up is season 2, entitled Sleeping Beauty. Hope and Landon still dead / asleep. Our runner-up for favorite finale was season 4, which I entitled Always and Forever. This was the farewell to everyone. But my favorite finale is season 1, we entitled No Way Home, with Hope sacrificing herself to defeat Malivore, making everyone forget she exists. Because, that's good TV. Mwah. Beautiful chef's kiss. Season ranking is pretty similar, but in last place, least favorite season was season 3, entitled Circle Jerk. A lot of looping storylines with not shit happening. Season 2, Don't You Forget About Me. Everyone trying to remember Hope. Season 1 is our runner-up for a favorite season we entitled Supernatural. All the supernatural creatures attacking the school. And our favorite season was season 4, we entitled Gods and Tribrids. Or Gods and the Tribrid. This is the vampire mode activated and fighting the gods. Season 4 was our favorite season. Season 1 was our favorite finale. Season 3 was just a disappointment. But 4 and 1 were so good. 4 was beautiful. And I'm really happy I got to experience those 2 seasons, being season 1 and season 2. We can get ready to wrap this up with our In Memoriam. Our in loving memory for Legacies. These are just important names here. So we'll start in season 1. Rest in peace, rest in dirt, rest in piss, whatever you want to say to these people. Whoever Raph killed ended up being his girlfriend. I don't remember her name. Raph's girlfriend that he killed to transform. All the bus people, the dragon lady, Gargoyle, Dana, the spider, the dryad, Sela, the unicorn, the mummy, headless horseman. Season 2, Kai Parker. For sure this time. Season 3, Chad. Raph, kind of, by going to the prison world. The principal at Mystic Falls High. A leprechaun, a gremlin, Kalen, Grandpa Terreo, Colin, Andy, the Wendigo. And in season 4, Landon Kirby, Aurora De Martel, and Ethan. That's your, I'm not going to go back through it. That's your peoples. That's your rest in peace to those folks. I'm sorry you had to die, I guess. Which leads me to our final words here. And my number one issue with Legacies is the fact that death wasn't a consequence for anyone at any point. People getting to come back over and over does kind of ruin the shock factor if you kill a character. So that was highly, highly, highly disappointing for me personally. The fact that I watched a character die and then they would come back, and the fact that Landon's the ferryman, but he's in limbo and he can come back whenever he wants. There's just no consequences in the show. Granted, we saw flashbacks of almost just said her fucking name. Stefan's best friend, the one that Damon killed. I could see her face. There was no consequences for her. I mean, she showed up a couple times in dream sequences and things, and that makes sense. And Tyler's sister, right? Was that his sister? Vicky, was that her name? Showed up in a spiritual visit like Star Wars. That stuff's okay. But watching a character die, if we watch Stefan die and then he's just there, that's shitty. I know I mentioned having Klaus and Elijah, but that was talking about a necromancer raising somebody, but they're going to return to the dead. People came back to life. Landon, MG, and all them, they came back to, or Caleb, MG, Lizzie, granted she took blood. Those people came back to life. There was no consequences. I guess that's my only gripe. It's a good show. I don't know where it ranks in our shows we watch on the channel. I don't know if it cracks the top 10 or not. I'll have to look at the rankings and see. But that's officially a wrap on Legacies. It's a wrap on the Vampire Diaries universe. They left the door open just enough. If they ever wanted to come back to it, they could. And if they do, I look forward to the return. I look forward to seeing it. I hope we get the same people, the same cast. I hope we can get to the merge. We can have heartbreak and sadness and beautiful moments. I look forward to every bit of it. And I'll take a second here to say thank you for 331 episodes. From the Vampire Diaries to the originals back in 2021 to 3 years later, 2024, watching Legacies with me. And up next, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know what the schedule is going to be yet, but that's what we're going to be watching. And from that point, I'll take a second to tell you I love you and I appreciate you. And we'll go from there. So thank you all. I'll have links and everything in the description box down below. We'll have playlist up on screen. And as always, stay cute, stay hydrated, and I will catch you on the next one. And I love you always and forever.